If you want to get rid of a bad, old habit, or you are trying to acquire a new good habit, in this video, we explained the educational method that, if you actually apply it, you will acquire the habit that you want and you will definitely get rid of the habit that you do not want, God willing, explaining the second chapter of the book The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Come on, have fun. The idea of the channel, honey, is that I read a book and explain to you the summary of the book with short videos, or I review it briefly, but not explain it in full. What do you think if you give me 2 minutes of your valuable time to try to review what we said in the clip that ended the first chapter? Oh, long life we talked about. How can the brain retain memories as if they came back in the past episode or in the first chapter? Talk to us about the story of the patient Eugene Pauly. This is a patient who lost his memory, but the strange thing is that he not only lost the old memory, he is no longer able to retain any new memory, and he is only able to retain the new memory for a minute. Do you know what this means? It means that after every minute of his life he will lose memory, and by God, this is a painful thing, my friend, the observer. May God protect you, O Lord of the worlds. But what happened with Eugene? The reason for the leap in the study of the science of memory and behavior is that the scientist Larry Squire, who was supervising Eugene's case, discovered that there is a part of the brain that preserves memories that are considered to him to be habits. That is, if certain memories reverberate in the brain in a certain pattern or in an organized context, the brain understands that this is a habit in the soul and stores it in the basal ganglia, which is an area at the bottom of the brain or deep in the brain, so it becomes a urinary tract when new recent memories come for a minute. It is arranged in a specific way, understand his brain. They are habits, and he began to store them in the area we called the basal ganglia. This means, my friend, the follower, that Ajibole's brain was able to retain a new memory as habits only, even though he could not preserve the memory. In general, the subject is very complicated, and we explained it in detail in the episode what you will be able to return to, but this story in short is a summary of what happened in the first chapter, O Long Life, is that we knew how the brain maintains habits, the origin of which they begin, the evidence or motivator, and then the habit that you practice until you reach the reward that your mind expects to obtain by practicing this habit. Even if we give the example of the mouse who was given an experiment that they put in a maze, they put a piece of chocolate at the end of the maze. The mouse got used to it as soon as he listens because Kara knows that the gate will open, and then he goes into the maze to get a piece of chocolate, which is considered a reward for him. This is the summary of the first chapter and the first part of this book, the end of the video that went. I told you this very briefly, in the last 2 or 3 minutes, that in order to gain a new habit, honey, you must put a stimulus on it and then practice the habit, and after that you will get the prize in the end. After repeating this topic for several times, your mind will understand that it is considered a habit and he will start to settle it as a way of life without any struggle and without any resistance from you or at least from your usual behaviors. Now what we are going to do in this video is that we are going to explain this part in detail. How can you build a habit? Or how can you get rid of a habit? And let's start this chapter, honey, with the story of the great marketer Hopkins. By the way, if you love marketing, or if you have or are opening a Fatiha store, here is one of the marketing miracles that we will talk about now. Claude Hopkins, this man is considered a magician, but in marketing, he was extremely rich, extremely wealthy, but because he could market any product and make it break the world in sales, so Claude Hopkins used to work miracles in any product he marketed, and what happened that year was that they told him about a new product called Besodent, which is a toothpaste. They said this product will help in cleaning and beautifying the teeth, and who is talking about the things that toothpaste does in the world, but the difficulty, even though it is that the culture of using toothbrushes and paste did not exist at that time, at all. You understand that in that era of time, my friend, the follower, people used to get up from sleep and brush their teeth. As I read this information, I was shocked by the person who does not brush his teeth. It is not a requirement that you use a toothbrush and paste to clean your teeth, but I was shocked by the person who does not brush his teeth even during ablution. I mean, I was shocked even though it was in that era of time, and I am afraid that I will be shocked by the fact that he is among people even today. They brush their teeth, but if there are people like this, why not? There may be loved ones in it. I tell them that, I ask your permission, it is a blessing from the Lord of the worlds. Try to preserve it by taking care of it and keeping it clean, and cleanliness is part of faith. The important thing is that in that era, no one used a toothpaste brush at all. The company came and said, Mr. Hopkins, we want you to be happy, Lotus. We said, this product is achieving such good sales, and it is trying to convince people that it brushes its teeth. Hopkins refused to do so. He was not convinced at all about the marketing campaign and the reason behind it. The product will achieve excellent sales, and it is smart. It will not market something that demonstrates its failure in marketing. In the end, the important thing is that after a period of time and several attempts, Hopkins was convinced that he might carry out the marketing campaign, but he needed some study between himself and himself, so Hopkins went to read books on medicine, especially dentistry, and after a short period of reading Hopkins appeared and said, I discovered a great discovery today, and from this discovery led me to start marketing campaigns for this product, and I told you that I had discovered that the teeth have a layer on them, and that this layer is what made the shape of your teeth yellow and not beautiful, and the toothpaste in Best Wa Done will help you get rid of this layer, and then you will have bright and beautiful teeth. And from here, my follower friend, the advertising campaigns for Claude Hopkins began. The sad thing is that it is horrible, my friend. The follower is fighting against the doctors over the correct information that he is talking about, which is the existence of a class, but its use by others. It is true that the toothpaste gets rid of them, and that this layer on the teeth is a natural layer, and since the teeth are somewhat yellow in color, this is the natural color, and Hopkins did not care about it. All these criticisms are from doctors. The marketing campaign continued to say that BP Dent toothpaste will rid you of this layer, and you will have bright and beautiful teeth, my honey friend. But BP Dent toothpaste broke sales records, not broke records. The toothpaste culture has begun. It spread in America and around the world due to the marketing campaigns of Claude Hopkins. Oh, this man is truly a miracle, and he had the right to classify himself as Charles used to say about him, with inventors like Thomas Edison and great people like Einstein. He says, I am like them, I am not far from them, even though I did not live with you, and I do not really know many things about you, but I admit that you are great, very great, great. But he made us buy on the side. Okay, because for me this is me, the greatest person living on the face of the earth, other than the prophets of course, because there are people I know who compare ordinary people to prophets. What is there any comparison, honey Nasser? What is the story of the second chapter with Claude Hopkins, and the free publicity that you did? Because toothpaste? I'm telling you, honey, I'm telling you that the method that Claude Hopkins used to convince people around the world to use toothpaste is through implantation, which is a habit for every person who saw the advertisement right, but he wanted to give them the evidence or indication that is considered the beginning of habit and behavior. The behavior they do habitually, and then the reward. Those who get it, and this sequence is a sequence of implantation, that is, a habit implantation sequence, as we said in the previous chapter, and as we will explain in practice in this chapter. He tells you that when people saw the Hopkins advertisement and he said in a layer on your teeth, the first thing they did was that they made sure of the presence of this class, and any person in the world will discover that this class exists. We are not talking about the harmful calcareous layers, my friend, the observer. No, we are talking about the existing, normal layer in every person's teeth, meaning that through which people know your teeth are normal. After making sure of the existence of this layer, the person who is watching the advertisement thinks about the result that he will get, the disappearance of this layer. And this is impossible, of course, but this is what he thinks about when he goes and buys the toothpaste and the brush, and then now tries to apply this experience practically. And as we said in the chapter on habits, when you start implementing them you are completely aware of them, but after a period of time you settle them subconsciously. By God, teach me, now when you get up and brush your teeth daily, do you do it consciously? 100% or 99%? Brush your teeth unconsciously? I think the correct answer is that you settled it unconsciously. The reason is that it has become a habit. The witness tells you that they went and bought a toothpick and put the toothpaste and started brushing their teeth. They have now gone beyond the stage of evidence and gone to the stage of behavior or habit, and after that is the moment of obtaining the prize, which is the feeling of refreshment after brushing the teeth, and this is something we feel even today. If you brushed your teeth with a toothpaste that did not have a lot of foam, or after you finished brushing, it made you feel the glow of fluoride, or the strange snowy feeling that comes in your teeth, they don't feel clean, and with this thing that was different and implanted in them, toothbrushing became a habit for the American people and the peoples of the world, and from here the records were broken by Bawadin toothpaste, even though there was more than one toothpaste that existed before Bawadin, but it was Hopkins' marketing campaign that created a revolution, and I consider it a global revolution, and it is not even a marketing revolution. In order to acquire a new habit, you must have evidence, a signal, or a motivator. What you call a sign that shows that this is the moment in which you will start practicing the habit. This is dangerous, and very important. Most people try to acquire a habit without giving a specific signal in which their mind knows that now you will start practicing the habit. Remember the mouse experiment that we talked about in the chapter. The first, look at the graph of the mouse before it acquired the habit, and the graph of the mouse after it acquired the habit. If you notice two areas that have not changed at all, the first area is the signal that is considered the clicks that the mouse was hearing. What she knew was that now the gate will open and he will play games. This area has not changed, and the last area is obtaining the reward, which is the second condition for building or acquiring any habit. So, first of all, let us point to the signal. You must have a signal. Teach me what habit you want to acquire, i.e. It is a habit that you want to acquire, and I gave the example of the gym or going to the club because it is considered difficult, very difficult, and if you notice that all the times we tried to continue with a certain exercise regimen or go to the gym, we did not use the pointing method, what we have learned is that now we will start practicing this habit. We will go to the gym randomly, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the afternoon, once in the evening. Sometimes we go when we are full or sometimes we are hungry. There is no specific signal that indicates to the brain that now is the start time. This habit, so what we are going to do this time is that we will place a sign showing us that this is the time to practice this habit, and the sign could be anything you can think of. The most important thing is that it is always there before you start exercising. The important thing about putting the signal is that you stick to it and continue with it. This pattern must continue. This is the first condition. The second condition is that you practice the habit for sure, but this is a natural thing. I mean, you practice the habit in the end. It does not matter once. What is important is that you get a reward at the end. This is a habit, and this is where dopamine comes into play, my friend, the follower. But I was telling Dominica, right? No, dopamine. Dopamine is the first part of the word. What do you think? Let's talk about dopamine a little bit. We break the loop routine. Dopamine is benzene, what makes you do anything you see in your life. In short, I will not spend more time on dopamine, but keep in mind that this hormone is gasoline. It is the engine for anything. You do it in your life. Imagine, if your body stopped secreting dopamine at this moment, you would stop doing it. Anything but instinctive, of course, such as eating, sleeping, etc. What is the story with dopamine? Dopamine? It is the hormone that the body secretes to give you energy, motivation, and motivation. You do a specific thing because it knows you will eventually get a reward, and the reward is often a feeling of happiness, which is the happiness hormone serotonin. For example, there are people who know that they will feel happy when they watch an episode of their favorite series, an anime episode, or an episode of Dabba Me Caffeine. This is because the brain knows that if you finish watching this episode, you will feel happy. It secretes the hormone dopamine for you, which keeps you motivated and goes to watch the episode. This is excellent. It is dopamine, so it allows the brain. It secretes the hormone dopamine. In order to practice the habit that you want to continue, you must give yourself a reward at the end, and after a period of time, for example, after each end of an exercise, or after you finish studying an English language lesson, for example, reward yourself with a reward. You drink a drink, you like it, you eat. Eat it, you like it, watch a series, or practice a behavior that you love. If you have the financial ability to buy something, even a simple one, and consider it a reward after performing this work or this habit, why? Nothing else, my follower friend. Most importantly, you must continue with it. If we continue with two things, the indicator, which is very important, and getting the reward, which is more and more important. So when you set a pattern like this for you to acquire a habit, continue with it for at least a month. Of course, they always say, if you continue in a manner daily in practicing this thing regularly, you will gain it in less than a month for much less than this. So this is the thing that you need to adjust to practice. This habit is the dangerous point, and it is what is considered a benefit, but from another point of view, well, do you know what is a very beautiful thing? Once your mind acquires this habit, it will be stronger than memory loss. Imagine that we told you in the video that went on that there are people who lose their memories, and despite this they do not forget. How do you speak? Don't lose the language, my follower friend. Okay, in cases where he forgets how to write, yes, but we don't forget how to speak, because speech was usually more for the brain than writing, so the brain doesn't forget how to speak, and we don't forget how to dress, and we don't forget that if it comes to spend his need, may God bless you. He hides out of sight and knows the places where he relieves himself. This is the power of habit, my friend. Follower, all you need is to prove it, convince your mind that this issue is a habit and leave the rest. Everything will be settled after a period of time. As soon as you see this sign that you put, and what is considered the beginning of this habit, you will start applying this habit without consciousness. Is like brushing your teeth, my friend who is a follower, and with his grace, may God forgive us. We perform many of our prayers unconsciously, and this is because it has become a habit. It is positive and at the same time negative. I do not know how. But in general, it is considered a habit that you apply unconsciously. You do not feel its weight, fatigue, weight, etc. All this is for you. In the end you will get the reward, so make sure that the reward that you put in it can be adjusted. Every time you give yourself an ice cream, maybe tomorrow dopamine will say no, I am tired of ice cream that is not new, but let it in the end be considered a reward. This is the most important thing. The most important thing is that it is a reward, and oh peace, oh peace, oh peace. On the day your mind will record these beautiful practices as habits and you will have a lifestyle, you will adjust them permanently, such as reading. For example, I am one of the people who gets very bored with reading, but because after I finish reading any book, this thing really changes. Once in a while I love him. For me, this is considered a reward, and I expect this is what gave birth to the incentive that makes me read. This is what makes me hopeful about reading. Despite this, reading has become a true habit for me. Today, I open the book more, and I'm in a state of affairs, and I don't know what, and I'm fidgeting. But I read and keep reading even if I'm from the heart, because the topic has turned into a habit. So now you think with yourself and see the beautiful habit that you want to acquire. I set it in such a beautiful, nice pattern, and I start applying it. Today, don't be late. You think, tired, bored, lethargic. You might be heavy on the subject at first. It will be heavy, meaning it will be heavy, but in our colloquial dialect. But continue. Keep getting into the habit. For a short period of time, before, I am not telling you how to get rid of any habit. Let me tell you about a beautiful experience, this time about a monkey, and there is no other beautiful experience for a mouse. The scientist Schultz had a monkey. He brought a monkey and sat him on a chair and tied it so that he could not get up from this chair, but he could use his hands. This monkey was rather smart. He put on a crane suit and put it on the mouse's brain. These are the same sensors that they used in the experiment. The mouse placed a computer screen in front of it, and what became strange, and very strange was that random shapes and random colors appeared on the screen after a period of time. The screen is dim like normal. After a while, strange shapes and colors appeared that were important. The monkey is that if these shapes appear and he touches the lever, he will get drops of juice. Excellent, excellent. At first he tells you that he was not busy on the screen in the first place, and he tries as much as possible that it is just he got up from this chair and tried to free himself, but suddenly and randomly. When this figure appeared and touched the lever, the monkey got some drops of raspberry juice. He loved raspberry juice, by the way. When he got the juice, the monkey's focus increased towards the screen. He focused more on me, but like I told you very randomly, he was touching the lever, he tries to get the juice, he focuses on the screen, he doesn't understand anything, and he won't understand anything at all, but after several times the shapes came together on the screen, and he pulled the lever, he knew that at this moment he would get the juice he liked. So he started the monkey focuses on the screen only without being distracted by anything else waiting for these shapes. They appear on the screen, and as soon as they appear, he pulls the lever and gets drops of juice. The monkey understands the plan, my friend who is watching. As soon as he understood it, he began to apply it exactly, and that is what happened. It turns this behavior into a habit. It will turn into a habit as long as it indicates the shapes that appear on the screen, the habit that is the withdrawal, and the reward that he gets, which is the juice. But what the scientist Schultz noticed, and this observation was the answer, is that the monkey increases his activity before he gets the reward. Imagine. Here comes the dopamine. Here, notice that after the monkey got used to this habit after a while, his mind became clear, after the shapes appeared on the screen, after the shapes appear, and before he pulls the lever, his brain activates in the area between the two actions. He knows that he is going to get the reward, and then he pulls the lever and gets the juice, and everything is as it was. This discovery is also considered very, very great, and I expect that it summarizes the antecedent of dopamine to me. I explained it to you a little while ago. Your mind will understand as soon as you play an episode of Dub Amica Bean that in the end you will get a benefit and an availability. No, I am not kidding, I am kidding. Your mind will understand that you will get the reward of feeling happy after it ends. You watched an episode of your favorite series, but he will activate while watching the episode or before, because he is anticipating the reward is coming. Imagine, my observant friend, that after the monkey had acquired this habit, the scientist Schultz freed him from the chair and two random people entered this room, landing at the outskirts of the room. Food. He noticed that all the monkeys were paying attention to the food, and that the monkeys that he tried to apply this experiment to without letting them develop the habit, would eventually get up from the chair and go to take the food that was at the edge of the room. With the exception of the monkey who acquired this habit, he would notice that he was sitting on the chair and waiting for the shapes to appear on the screen without paying any attention to the rest of the food that was there. As soon as the shape appeared, he would pull the lever and get the juice. This proves to you that habit will overcome anything in the end, and of course the scientist Schultz sometimes had a love for the monkey the little, and he tried to cut him off the reward. That is, if the shapes appeared and the lift was withdrawn, that would not give him a reward, and the monkey would get angry, and he would make his sounds, rattling on the chair and its condition. A case because he did not get the reward he expected. In general, your money is in Tooele. This is the habit, if it is formed, and this is its strength. How can you get rid of the bad habit? What you do not want is that you distort its usual pattern. As we agreed, you have a signal and you have a reward. In the end, I tried to cut off one of the two smokers on, for example, one of the biggest examples. I am fully and completely convinced that smoking is not an addiction as much as it is an addiction, but the fact that it is a habit is much greater than the fact that it is an addiction and you can quit smoking or quit any bad habit if you cut off the reward or the motivator. In some people, as soon as they see another person smoking they crave it and smoke. Why? because his mind understands that if he smokes, he will get the reward of nicotine in the spirit of smoking, or if his eye falls on a pack of cigarettes, he will crave the nicotine that he will get in the end. If this is the indicator and the reward is nicotine, then he smokes. Then you have to cut one of the two, either the sign you see when you see your friend smoking, or the match you are used to if you follow her smoking, or the place where you sit to smoke. Try to look for the sign that motivates this behavior in you. Cut it off, or leave the signal there, but do not give him the reward, do not give him the dose of nicotine at the end. This part is difficult, we know it is difficult, but like I told you, continue to distort this pattern for more than 21 days or less than a month and you will break this habit. We always heard that the best way to quit any habit is to replace it, and this is true, and we did not understand the structure that exists in the brain in the first place, and replacing a habit is that when the indicator comes to you, you change the habit so that if the indicator comes, you will not stop smoking, you will go do anything. I mean, many of those who have given up bad habits and smoking have replaced their habits with better and better habits. Some of them, for example, as soon as it occurred to them that they smoke, they go to take care of the plants. You're right. Some of them decided that the first time they craved smoking, they read a book, exercised, or settled anything else. He likes it and it is different from smoking, so after a period of time, what will happen? As soon as this signal comes, instead of practicing the bad habit and getting its reward, he goes to practice the good habit that he loves and gets its reward, and after a period of time this habit will be distorted. Believe me, you will quit any bad habit. What do you want? You just need to continue theory on the farm. Go back and follow the farm theory. You must go back and watch the clip. This change does not happen overnight. Change takes a period of time and requires a high level of commitment, and then come, let me tell you something that concludes this video. If you are one of the people who thinks about how to change his life, change his circumstances, and enjoy the beautiful life that he desires, and tomorrow he can marry, leave, change the life of his life partner, and change the lives of his children. If you are one of the people who aspires in change, some of them aspire to change his society or his nation, or even the entire human world, there are people who want to make a change in life in any way. If you have the ability to change a habit, man, how can you change a person or a group of people or your children or your friends or people you love or change your society or the nation or humanity as a whole? If you can't change something about yourself, how can you change something about people? Don't you give yourself excuses? And believe me, you can get rid of this habit just as you have acquired it. There is a beautiful story, the same marketing story that we mentioned, but I will not tell it to you in the video, so that there is no unnecessary repetition and stuffing. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your invaluable time.